After 10 years of war in the Southern Territory, my mate, Nick, finally returned, a battle-scarred alpha with victory in his eyes. When he told me he wanted to claim me as his Luna, my wolf stirred with longing. At that moment, I thought I had finally found my place within the pack. But fate had other plans. 3 months after his return, I discovered the truth. A full terabyte of intimate recordings of Nick and my best friend, Sherry, was hidden within his computer, alongside journal entries overflowing with love confessions to her. My wolf howled in agony. The bond that was supposed to tie us together felt like a cruel joke. Then, I checked his secondary WhatsApp account. Though Sherry had blocked him, he still sent her love-filled pleas, desperate voice recordings, words meant for a mate, not a forbidden lover. When I confronted him, my alpha did not falter. He stood tall, unrepentant, his piercing golden eyes filled with cold indifference. The argument that followed left my wolf snarling, aching to lash out, but I forced myself to walk away. I needed distance, needed him to feel my absence, to understand the weight of my pain. When I went to the hospital for a prenatal checkup, I saw Nick down on one knee in the hospital lobby, holding roses. For a moment, I thought he was begging for my forgiveness. In that instant, a spark of happiness flickered in my heart. If Nick had indeed ended things with Sherry, I was truly willing to forgive him since I was also carrying his child. After all, those intimate videos and messages were in the past. I could not let old wounds ruin our future, especially now that Nick was standing there with flowers and a gift box, looking at me with such determination. This was the proposal I had dreamed of for 10 years. He said, "Marry me, be my Luna, and let me be the father of our child." I smiled and took a step forward, already imagining our reconciliation. I even planned the perfect candlelit dinner at Moonlight Restaurant to celebrate. However, his next words stopped me in my tracks. "Will you, Sherry?" I found myself lost in the crowd of onlookers while Sherry stood at the center, one hand on her belly as she reached out to take his flowers. Her face was glowing with happiness. I stood frozen, suffocating in my own humiliation. Just seconds ago, I had been stupid enough to believe he was proposing to me. Nick stood up, gently embracing Sherry from behind. Then, he tenderly brushed aside her long hair to place his family's heirloom moonstone necklace around her neck. The crowd erupted into cheers as Sherry leaned into him, their lips meeting in a deep, lingering kiss. The scent of their mingling pheromones was suffocating. I had once believed that nothing could physically hurt an alpha's mate unless rejected, but in that moment, I realized I had been wrong. I felt a sharp pain in my belly, and I nearly collapsed. However, I managed to find the obstetrician, schedule an abortion appointment, and leave. This would be my second time losing a child. I had been pregnant once before, 3 years ago. However, Nick was still at war, conquering the southern packs. He said that my pregnancy would interfere with his grand ambitions since he could not divide his attention to care for me. So, he had asked me to abort the child. He had assured me, "Don't worry. We're young and healthy. We can always have another baby later." I told him that werewolves were not supposed to terminate their pregnancies and that the moon goddess would punish us. Yet, he was unfazed. He simply replied, "I don't care about the moon goddess. I'm the alpha, and if I say get rid of it, you get rid of it." After seeing that I went through with the abortion, he abandoned me to continue fighting in the Southern Territory, pursuing his goals. Like a naive, devoted mate, I had done as he commanded, believing his promises that we would have a family when the time was right. And yet, when I had awoken from that blood-stained nightmare, he had already left, gone to war once more, leaving me to suffer alone. Even then, I made excuses for him. He was an alpha with responsibilities, and I told myself I needed to be more understanding. It was not until I witnessed him proposing to Sherry at the hospital that I understood the truth. It was not that he could not sacrifice his ambitions for a child, he just did not want to sacrifice them for our child. As Nick carefully helped Sherry walk to the hospital courtyard, she said, "Nick, I'll agree to marry you, but I want Flora as my bridal attendant, what humans call a bridesmaid. If you don't agree, I won't go through with the wedding." Nick was an alpha, and I was curious whether he would actually allow such an absurd arrangement at his wedding. Nick frowned. "If you don't marry me, who else would you marry? You belong to me, Sherry. You're my Luna." "Yes, you're the alpha, and I can't escape that." If you won't let Flora be my bridesmaid, I'll just have to be secretly unhappy. Sherry pouted. He conceded, well, it seems that to keep you happy, I have no choice but to agree. Now, will you marry me? We should surprise Flora. Let's keep it a secret until the wedding day. You know how temperamental she is, and if we accidentally offend her, she might refuse, and then I'd have no attendant, Sherry suggested. Don't worry. She owes me her life, and I spent 10 years with her, she has no reason to refuse. Besides, being the Luna's attendant would be the greatest honor for someone like her, Nick assured her. Then, he pulled Sherry into his arms and kissed her again, long, deep, and full of passion. This time, not only did my belly hurt, but my heart felt like it was being stabbed. I staggered forward with my last bit of strength. With trembling hands, I pulled out my phone and called my brother, Francis Haywood, the alpha of the Blue Moon Pack. I whispered weakly, Francis, come get me. I want to go home. Francis's voice on the phone sounded both shocked and delighted. He exclaimed, Flora, you've finally come to your senses. When you first ran off to Nick's pack to be with him, we thought it was a mistake, but knowing you truly loved him, we respected your choice. He continued, but you've waited 10 years, and he still hasn't proposed. Mom always said he never really loved you, and he was just keeping you as a backup. How could someone who truly loves you not officially make you his? If it had not been for that terabyte of intimate videos and witnessing Nick propose to Sherry at the hospital, I would have immediately defended him in front of Francis. I would have called him a liar and said Nick was my true mate, the one the moon goddess had destined for me. Instead, I replied, I was wrong. My choices were a joke. Francis, I miss Mom. Then come home, he said. For years, I had feared that while Nick was away fighting for territory, he would eventually bond with someone else. But I never expected the betrayal to come from the one person I once called my best friend, Sherry. When I saw him proposing to Sherry at the hospital, the woman who had nearly killed me years ago, I finally understood that she was the one he truly loved. He was even willing to abandon his mission to reclaim the Southern Territory for her. Not only that, but he even agreed to humiliate me by making me her bridesmaid at their wedding just to please her. A sudden screech of tires yanked me back to reality. A loud crash followed, and my body lurched forward as my cab got rear-ended. Just then, Nick's call came through. He asked, Flora, the doctor said you were at the hospital. Are you feeling unwell? There was urgency in his voice. Flora, what's happening over there? Were you in an accident? His concern sounded so real and so genuine. It was as if he had not just been kissing Sherry moments ago. My belly throbbed with pain, and I mumbled, I got into a car accident, Nick. Don't worry. Where are you? I'm coming right now. There was a time when hearing his concern would have made my heart swell with warmth. I used to believe it was proof of his love. Now, I understood that he would help even a stranger in danger on the street because that was just what alphas would do. By the time the police arrived and handled the accident, Nick finally showed up, with Sherry. Since I had no visible broken limbs or bleeding wounds, Nick visibly relaxed. Flora, are you okay? Are you hurt? Sherry asked nervously from inside Nick's car, not even bothering to step out. Why are you two together? I asked directly. I could not understand what Nick was thinking. He knew Sherry had been exiled to the desert for 2 years after intentionally harming me, and yet, here he was, letting her lounge comfortably in his car. I wondered if he was just not bothered to try hiding his affair anymore. Guilt flashed across Nick's face as he explained, Flora, I went to the hospital to pick you up and happened to run into Sherry. When she heard about your accident, she was worried you might be injured and insisted on coming to see if you needed help. Flora, are you okay? Do you need any help? Sherry asked. My wolf bristled. I scoffed, you're not worried about me. You were hoping I'd be hurt, weren't you? Sherry shrank back in fear, while Nick's face darkened. He snapped, Flora, you're slandering Sherry. Apologize to her right now. I stared at Nick in disbelief. I just survived a car accident, and I'm the one who needs to apologize. Your accident wasn't her fault, he replied coldly. Flora, Alpha, please stop fighting. Flora, I apologize, it's my fault. During those 2 years in exile, I regretted everything. Because of me, you can't do ballet anymore, and I'm so sorry for that. Please forgive me, okay? Sherry approached me with a pitiful expression. Nick gazed at me, silently urging me to be kind to Sherry. I stared at him and asked, do you think I should forgive her? 3 years ago, a prestigious dance company had invited me to join their world tour, but I could only refuse through tears while lying in a hospital bed with a cast. Day after day, I endured excruciating pain during rehabilitation just to be able to walk again. I caught a glimpse of pity and guilt on Nick's face, but it lasted only for a second. Inside, I was screaming. I could accept him betraying me with any woman, but not with Sherry. Eventually, Nick spoke up. Sherry was young back then. She didn't know any better. She already paid the price for what she did. And she's felt guilty about it for years. Today, she even apologized to you in person. He added, Flora, it's time to let it go. We need to move forward. I chuckled. Sherry ruined my lifelong dream and was dismissed as youthful ignorance. She had been punished, so I should move on and not hold a grudge, or else I would be the unreasonable one. Back then, Nick had rushed me to the emergency room, holding my hand and promising to stay by my side. He had said he hated Sherry and could not understand how she could be so cruel. Yet now, he was kissing her and asking me to forgive her. And all because the person he loved now was her, not me. If Nick had not stopped Sherry that day, I would not have just injured my legs, I would have died. Seeing my silence, Nick took Sherry's hand and brought it toward mine, trying to force a reconciliation embrace. I yelled, Nick, you're not the one whose tendons were torn, who can't stand for long periods, and who lost their entire dream. How dare you ask me to forgive the terrible woman who destroyed my future? Years ago, Sherry came at me with a silver dagger, not just to hurt me, but to kill me. The only reason I was still alive was because Nick had thrown himself in front of me and taken the hit instead. The scent of my burning flesh from that blade still haunted me, the searing agony seeping into my bones like a curse. And because of that, he believed I owed him an eternal debt of gratitude because he had saved my life. Now, in his mind, since he had forgiven Sherry, I was supposed to do the same. It was ridiculous. Nick's patience finally snapped. His golden alpha eyes flashed dangerously. Flora, I'm doing this for your own good. You've always been a loner. You never had any friends except Sherry. Why can't you just let go of the past and be friends again? His voice carried the authority of an alpha, forcing submission through his sheer presence. Once, that power had made my wolf purr in delight, but now, it only filled me with rage. The warmth he once showed me had vanished, leaving only cold indifference. In his eyes, I was nothing without him. I was just a woman who could not find another man. And without Sherry, I was nothing but a friendless, bitter nobody. The pain in my belly intensified. I realized that even if Sherry's knife had pierced my heart back then, it probably would not have hurt as much as this moment did. Sherry said softly, Flora, I don't expect you to forgive me right now, but I'll keep praying to the moon goddess and repent until the day you finally accept me as your friend again. Get lost, I growled, gripping the car door tightly to keep myself from collapsing. Nick stared at me, shaking his head in contempt. Flora, I can't believe you'd treat Sherry this way, you're wicked. I'm seriously reconsidering whether you can be my Luna because I don't want people mocking me for having such a heartless, bitter woman as my fiancée. He spat, if you don't apologize to Sherry, then it's your own fault that you can't dance anymore, your own fault that you have no friends, and your own fault that you can't be my Luna. I thought, moon goddess, you should have just let me die that day. At least during that time, Nick had sworn that as long as he was breathing, he would always protect me. Suddenly, the pain became unbearable. I collapsed to the ground, blood pooling between my legs. It seemed I would not need an abortion after all. Take me to the hospital, I whispered. Sherry glanced at my belly and raised an eyebrow. She's just having her period with bad cramps. Let's give her some pain medication first. Nick immediately went to his car to find medicine, but suddenly, Sherry dropped to her knees. Flora, if you won't forgive me, then I'll kneel here until you do. Ah! Alpha, my stomach. It hurts, she cried out. Nick, who had been searching for medicine for me, instantly turned back. He shoved me aside and scooped her up in his arms. Flora, if anything happens to Sherry's baby, to her stomach, I'll make you pay with your life, he threatened. Don't worry about me, Sherry whimpered. Flora has no other friends but me. Even if I die today, I'll keep kneeling until she forgives me. Sherry became so emotional that she fainted in Nick's arms. I had seen that look on Nick's face before, pure panic. It reminded me of when I was bleeding profusely after Sherry's knife attack, and he had shown the same concern. This time, he was frantically carrying Sherry to his car, running every red light on his way to the hospital. As I collapsed, my world finally grew quiet, with only the blood trickling between my legs. In the emergency room, the healer hesitated before reluctantly informing me that I had miscarried. Even after receiving the news, I did not scream or cry, I simply said, "Thank you." I instinctively called Nick, but he rejected my call. As a nurse wheeled me to my room, I received a message from Francis saying he would pick me up in 5 days. Suddenly, I felt at peace. Nick was right about one thing, we were still young, and our future was still being written. Hence, I decided that the 10 years of gratitude, love, and hatred all would end in this moment. During my 2 days in the hospital, Nick completely vanished from my life. Later, I saw his Instagram updates from Valentine's Day, showing him and Sherry riding the Ferris wheel together, participating in the Kiss for 1 minute at the top challenge. The sight made my wolf snarl in disgust. My mate, the alpha who had sworn to protect and cherish me, was now parading his affection for another she-wolf as if our bond had never mattered. When I got home, I gathered every wedding item I had personally picked out and gave them away to the household staff. I let them choose whatever they liked. Then, I scrolled through the photos of Nick and me on my phone one last time, deleting them one by one. With each deleted image, I felt the last shreds of our bond thinning, snapping like fragile threads. It was time to say goodbye to the past and begin my new life. Once I was done, I opened the supplements the healer had prescribed, herbal extracts to help my body recover, and took one. Just then, Nick returned. He spotted the supplements and cheerfully put them back in their gift box, clumsily but carefully retying the ribbon. "That's thoughtful of you for getting these supplements for Sherry. She really needs them right now to strengthen her health," he said. I did not bother correcting him. I knew it was not a supplement to strengthen her body, but rather to support her pregnancy. Without hesitation, I snatched the box from his hands, grabbed a pair of scissors, and cut the ribbon apart. Then, I walked to the sink and dumped the entire bottle of pills down the drain. Nick roared, "You heartless woman. You know Sherry almost miscarried, and you wouldn't even spare a single bottle of supplements for her?" "That's right," I replied calmly. Nick angrily threw the empty box into the trash can and called his beta, demanding he buy new supplements and deliver them immediately. Suddenly, he noticed that many things in our house were missing, including our matching coasters on the kitchen counter. He asked, "Flora, what happened to all those wedding items you bought for us?" Seemingly remembering I was bleeding, he added, "Why are you so pale? Was your period really that bad this time?" Looking at the concern in Nick's eyes, I calmly shook my head. He was just a stranger now, no longer entitled to be part of my life. Seeing my denial, Nick visibly relaxed and spoke to me with rare gentleness. "Don't be upset about those harsh things I said before. I was just looking out for you. You mentioned needing a bridesmaid for the ceremony. I've decided to let Sherry be your bridesmaid," he offered. "Fine," I replied. Nick froze, confused as to why I would refuse to give Sherry supplements yet agree to have her as my bridesmaid. In truth, I was simply preparing for the day I would leave him at the altar. He kissed my forehead and said, "Whatever upset you, just let it go. After we're done with the wedding, I'll take you on vacation. I'll spend every single day with you so you can get pregnant with our pup soon." "Sure," I replied. He planted another firm kiss on my cheek. "You don't look well, so you should just rest at home. I'll take Sherry to pick out her bridesmaid dress and come right back to keep you company." "Okay," I responded. After he left to find Sherry, I vigorously scrubbed my face at the sink. His saliva was disgusting. His scent, once intoxicating and comforting, now reeked of betrayal. My wolf curled inside me, vowing that no matter what, we would never submit.